welcome to the Fantasy Boardroom. As always, I am your host and Fantasy CEO Tycoon, and baby, the season starts now. The playoffs are here, man. And if you are still watching, that's a fantastic sign because that means you made the playoffs. Congratulations. Let's fucking go. It is time. We're at critical mass, man. We need just 3 good weeks, a little mini run to take it all home. And that's what we're here to do. To take a peek at news and notes and ideas and thoughts of exactly how we can get that done. Hopefully you've had good injury luck, surviving yet another couple of tough weeks as we lead into the playoffs. And yeah, so let's just dive into it real quick. Some real quick waivers. Number 1, obvious, Patrick Taylor. We don't know if Guarendo's going to go. Short week, so really hard to tell. Hard to be sure. So pick him up just in case because he will get decent run. I don't think he'll be quite as good as Guarendo because I actually have a sneaking feeling about Debo come Thursday, but still deployable, flex-worthy, I think, if Guarendo misses the game. Marquez Valdez-Scantling. I know this is kind of wild to suggest MVS, but hear me out for just a second, especially with Derek Carr going down, Jake Haener coming in. Haener does have an arm. He's not very good, but he's got an arm. MVS is a deep threat. They'll be playing from behind a lot with Haener at quarterback. He'll have to take some shots. MVS may catch a long one, so if you're in a very tough position or deeper league, larger roster, worth a shot. And Jalen McMillan, I didn't check Yahoo, but on ESPN he's only like 8% rostered. So, excuse me. So in any of those guys will be of help. And if you're in a league with a defense, the Atlanta defense is one that I want to target. They have, I should have written the matchups down. So my mistake, guys. Give me just a second. But they're very favorable for the next 2 weeks. Doesn't need to just be available. Yeah, they've got Vegas with Desmond Ridder, and then New York the following week facing either Drew Lock or Tommy Cutlets. So no matter which way you go, that's going to be a lot of turnover potential over the next 2 weeks. Go ahead and take advantage of that if you still have a defense. Sorry, my dog, man. He's absolutely wild. Get out of here, man. Stop. All right. And also, no start. First thing, just to also mention, not really going to get too much into starts and sits tonight. It's too early. I made too many calls on Tuesday of last week, and that really didn't pay off as injuries, as practice reports came out, really started to mount up. So some of the biggest stars were guys like Zach Charbonnet. We weren't thinking about quite yet on Tuesday. We had a suspicion, but nothing certain. And I can't stress enough, though, on a related note, how important it is to be paying attention to practice reports and injury news over the next few weeks. Obviously, being on top of your own players, but also potential guys that will be a great immediate waivers target if somebody else goes down and their replacement happens to be available. So just pay very, very close attention to news this year. Be locked in. I was having this discussion, Awesome Eckler, with another viewer just yesterday and ultimately landed on Atlanta, especially knowing that they have a nice outlook the following week. Now, you can really only obviously look at this week because you have to win week 15 to get to week 16, but Desmond Ridder absolutely blows, so I am more than happy to take my chances at him, especially in a big-time Monday night game, in a game they really need to win. And with Kirk Cousins struggling, the defense might feel that they need to do something on their end in order to secure that win as they're fighting with Tampa for the NFC South. So, yeah, there's a lot of motivation on that side, too, with Atlanta. All right, so we already talked about Patrick Taylor, but yeah, if Guarendo misses, go ahead and deploy him. Already briefly alluded to this, but I've just got a funny feeling that Debo pops this week. Number 1, he always plays well against LA. And number 2, he's just being absolutely destroyed this week, written off talking about how poor he has been, and admittedly he has been, but it always feels like as soon as we say one of these guys has historically been a very good player, sucks now not doing anything, blah, 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 that seems to be when they pop. And against LA in particular, I'm playing Debo where I've got him, frankly. In redraft, there's not too many of those teams because if you draft Debo, you probably struggled a lot of the way, but several teams with him that still did make it, so definitely going to be not too shy to roll him out. You need some of those ceiling plays in the playoffs too. It's a fine line between safety and risk. In that same game, Puka Nacua, obviously, this guy's the real deal. I don't have to tell you to start him, but just wanted to note, man, as long as Stafford is around, this guy will be a force. I kind of avoided him in drafts this year just because he was going so damn early, but he is justifying it again. And I still don't know what it's going to look like once Stafford goes away, but as long as we got the two of them, feel good about Puka. The Panthers have been feisty, and with the Cowboys in tow, Adam Thielen remains interesting, as in, you kind of got to start him. And with the Brooks injury, there's no path of resistance for Chuba Hubbard, so nobody's going to be taking any of his touches. Very nice matchup on deck. Really nice to have these guys rolling into your opening playoff matchup if you didn't secure a bye. Rico Dowdle has shown that he can be trusted, particularly in soft matchups. Some of the I haven't really looked in his case at week 16 and 17 yet, really just worried about week 15, and he does have the Panthers, and that is a matchup that he can succeed against. So go ahead and keep firing up Rico Dowdle. The KC backfield now firmly back in Isaiah Pacheco's hands. Hunt is no longer a factor, useless, droppable. Jameis Winston, famous Jameis baby, crab legs, has been fun, but I am pretty hesitant to deploy him this week against the Chiefs, or really any Browns that aren't named Jerry Jeudy. So I know he's been slinging it and all that, but Kansas City's defense is legit, and I think this is going to be a tough week for the Browns offense, even though Jameis has been firing all over the place. A couple of those turnovers pop up again, and I don't know that he'll be able to put up that same, just those same volume numbers against them the way he has been recently. Tough matchup, and I'm avoiding. The Dolphins receivers are back in the circle of trust. Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, thank goodness, couldn't be better timing. Even with Houston looming, motivated and hot team right now, Houston, frankly, hasn't looked that great this season. Certainly in recent weeks, Tua has been better than CJ Stroud, so I am very happy that this is the time that Waddle and Hill have come back around to being relevant and successful. This is perfect. Don't be afraid to keep rolling them out either. Jets and Jaguars is an absolutely disgusting, gross matchup. Horrible for the sport of football. Hate that it has to happen. I'm still tossing out Adams every week the rest of the season. Like I was talking about last week, still that last hurrah with Aaron Rodgers narrative. I don't expect Rodgers to return to New York next season, so I think this will be the last final few games that they'll have. He was on Pat McAfee this morning, as he is on Tuesdays during the season, and he was talking about even in this tough season, how nice it is to have been to reconnect with Devontae, not only on the field, but off the field. So, yeah, I think this bromance is just going to be maximized by the two of these guys over the final weeks of the season. And Breece Hall, you can still roll him out if he returns. And on the Jaguar side, nothing you can say to convince me to bench Brian Thomas Jr. currently. So even with Mac Jones, I can't bench Brian Thomas, but that is the only Jaguar that I'm looking at really moving forward. Taysom Hill's injury I had anticipated would be a bit of a boon for Alvin Kamara. And then Derek Carr broke his hand. So now we're left with Jake Haener at the helm, and that ceiling for Alvin Kamara is limited. He'll still obviously be the RB1. He'll still get us probably 20 touches a game, but I think it's going to be much harder. I think the efficiency of those touches, sadly, will go down. Shocker, but Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase could be league winners, particularly if you have that stack. And I really hope they are. No offense if you guys out there have Burrow and Chase, but if I roll up against Rasta, if I'm able to advance this week in our Get Right Dynasty League, that will be the stack I'm facing, and I really want no part of losing to that. So hopefully, for just a couple weeks, chill out a little bit, Joe. Be cool. You're Joe Cool, right? You're not making the playoffs, so just calmate. Again, sorry to all the Burrow and Chase owners out there. I've got a little bit of them too, but not in my most important spots. So, got to look out for number one first. Sorry, guys. Nick Westbrook Ikine is over. Done. Kaput. So don't start. You shouldn't have started him the last couple of weeks regardless. But definitely forget about him. In redraft, frankly, droppable. The ride is over. If you didn't have him, you missed out. Nah, bummer. And if you did miss out, really not that big of a deal because it still wasn't that great. Just like a weird touchdown streak. He was only getting a couple catches a game, so the points weren't fantastic. You were missing out on like a mid-flex play. Woo. Down game for James Cook in LA due to Josh Allen dominance, but don't be afraid to keep rolling him out either. That team is still really on a roll, particularly offensively, and as much as I think of Josh Allen, second best quarterback in football and best this season, yeah, he's not going to keep scoring, 6 touchdowns a game by himself. So Cook will have some positive regression down the stretch, I think. And especially when they get back to Buffalo, it's cold. They're going to have to lean on him a little bit more. Steelers and Eagles, the Battle of Pennsylvania is going to be a battle, and it's going to be a hard one to peg for fantasy purposes, in my opinion. I think this one's tough. I mean, roll out the studs, obviously. You're not benching Saquon, you're not benching Hurts, you're not benching A.J. Brown. Pickens is not going to play, actually, so I didn't have that news yet when I was finishing up the show sheet last night, but could they just try and run the hell out of Najee and Warren? Possibly. A little bit of Muth action. I'm curious to see what Arthur Smith's going to do, but I would keep expectations tempered across the board. Steelers defense is very for real. And again, not benching any of the big three in Philly, but just know this probably isn't going to be their, near their ceiling games. That's for sure. And the Chargers, speaking of injuries, man, this offense is a really tough go without Ladd McConkey and without J.K. Dobbins. And now Will Dissly is out too. This is very bad news for Herbert owners rolling into the playoffs, unfortunately. He's given you a pretty solid season. You've been rolling him out in Superflex, obviously. But, yeah, this offense is limited a bit with those guys out. So hopefully McConkey returns. J.K. Dobbins. I'm going to give some credit to Andrew Cooper of Fantasy Alarm on this as I was coming home today, though he did note if McConkey is all out again, Stone Smart is an intriguing pickup if you're desperate at tight end or in some kind of tight end premium league. Usually you find those more in Dynasty. But yeah, if you have a spot you might need to plug in a spare piece, there's interest there, and probably DFS interest in Stone Smart if McConkey cannot go again. Obviously, keep an eye on the injury news surrounding Kenneth Walker. But Zach Charbonnet is Barry Sanders when Kenneth Walker misses time. So if you're a Charbonnet owner, I suppose you're hoping that you get another couple of weeks of this. Just let Walker take his time, get ready for the playoffs, right? And yeah, you did. And I'm in a tough pickle because I'm facing a team. So in 2 of my most important leagues in the first round, one I have Charbonnet, another one I'm facing him, and could be a critical decider. And it's all good teams at this point, right in the playoffs. So it's margins are thin. And when you're in multiple leagues, you run into situations like this. So I guess I'll just take it however it goes. I guess, man, I sound like such a hater. I don't want Burrow and Chase to do something, but the league I want to win more is the one where I'm going against Charbonnet. So I just hope it's, I'll root for the rest of his team to suck and Charbonnet to pop. How about that? We'll do that. I am concerned about DeAndre Swift this week. I hate to say it, because it's been a bit up and down, and I didn't expect him to actually, do anything significant against San Francisco. But it's been 3 straight weeks of, not great output after a really solid run before that. I'm hoping another week with the interim Thomas Brown in charge, right? Thomas Brown is his name. Correct me, somebody, if I am incorrect. But a matchup against Minnesota at Minnesota, this is not easy. I hate talking bad about my boy. What can I say? I'm sorry, I'm stumbling and bumbling here. Just look for alternatives on your roster if you have them, is all I'm saying. I think the passing game will be able to get something going against Minnesota, but I don't think the run game is going to be particularly productive. If they use him underneath, check down a bit, he might be able to find some space that way, break off a big one, but I'm very nervous for Swift this week. Bears passing game, though, will be productive enough. And same with the Vikings. I'm not expecting really much from Aaron Jones this upcoming week. And I think O'Connell's just going to look to carve him up through the air as much as I can. I know that Chicago, is first against wide receivers in fantasy points, giving up the fewest. But we just saw what Brock Purdy did to him with Juwan Jennings and George Kittle for the most part. So I think Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison will be just fine there in that gorgeous stadium in Minnesota up against the Chicago defense. And welcome a little late. Yeah, brother, we started 17 minutes ago, but that's okay. That's okay. It's all love for sure. We probably only got 5 to 10 minutes left anyway, so yeah, go back, enjoy the intro. And I like it's your favorite part because it kind of forces you to watch from the beginning. You're already there. It's like, hey, I'm not going to hop around at this point, right? Hopefully other people enjoy the corny ass intro as well. But gotta have a catch, right? Gotta have a hook. Don't really have a catchphrase, so that's the closest I can get. Anybody out there seen Popstar? I gotta come out with like a catchphrase verse, like Connor for real. That was outstanding work. Great movie. And if you haven't seen Popstar, you should put it on your list after the new year once you get through all your Christmas and other holiday viewing and also prime time of sports. So it'll be a new year activity, but get it on your list. Great matchup, as we talked about with the defense for the Falcons, though, coming up here against Las Vegas Monday night at Las Vegas. Again, it's a very important game for them. They're going to be a highly motivated team. Cousins has sucked of late, but he's shaken that primetime thing. He's put in some good primetime performances last season and this season. So this is a great opportunity for the Falcons offensive skill players to take advantage of soft matchups. And I especially like this game for Kyle Pitts. I know he's been a frustrating ride himself, but I'm confident that against the Raiders, we'll see Pitts do well. And my final note here as we head in is that the Desmond Ridder insertion, I think, is going to neuter 2 of my favorite guys, and really the only guys of value with Las Vegas, period, which is Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers. So, look, Minshew was adequate enough to get it done. Same with O'Connell, adequate enough to get it done. He was actually playing pretty okay the last couple of weeks, but Ridder is certainly a downgrade, and even if he peppers these guys, I think it's going to be such a low average depth of target for these guys that it's just PPR. I guess you may still get some of those cheap points, but you're not. The yardage and touchdowns, I think, are going to be a major concern. This is rough, and a brutal blow to the tight end 1, and I think Myers as well, like wide receiver 18 or something. He's been outstanding. Has been for a couple of seasons now. And valuable before that, but in particular, he's really been kind of a weekly start for 2 straight seasons. So where is he? Okay, he's down to 23. Only 13.7 points last week. But actually, frankly, he's been a must start for 4 straight seasons. Wide receiver 3 in 2021, 2022, and then a wide receiver 2, 2023, last year. Granted, wide receiver 24, and they swing. So he's the low-end wide receiver 2, basically, and high-end wide receiver 3 range for 4 straight years. And he's been in terrible situations. Man, I wonder what this guy could do on a good team. Damn. But yeah, with Ritter at the helm, though, the rest of the way, this is going to be no fun. And I wouldn't bench Bowers, but I'm definitely nervous about Myers the rest of the way. Now, if there's any of you guys out there that still have any questions as we head into the first round of the playoffs, please, this is the time. I'm going to do a little shameless promotion for the brand here. As you guys think of any questions, if you have them. Mainly, just want to run over the schedule here as we get into the closing stretch of the fantasy season. On Monday nights, we do have the Waiver Wire Show with Rasta and Frank. Tuesday, you have yours truly with the Fantasy Boardroom that we are currently enjoying. Wednesday, we have 2 shows. First, we have Phil Ruskin over at the Extra Point, kicking things off around 6 o'clock Pacific time. And then at 9 o'clock Pacific time, we do have the Buy Low, Sell High Rasta Management Show with Rasta and Frank yet again. On Thursday, Phil comes back to back here with the Extra Point at 4 o'clock Pacific, preceding Thursday Night Football. Geez, I don't know why that blanked on me. And Friday, he even triple dips now. First, before we get back to Phil, we do have Start Sit Part 1 with Kendall and from the Fantasy Football Tavern and with Classic Mike. And then they are followed up immediately by, again, Phil Ruskin and by Rasta. Saturday, not on the graphic. We need that updated. We'll get there. We now have the Sweet Life. And on Sunday, we have the Active Inactive show at 8 a.m. Pacific with Classic Mike to get you ready right as we lead up to kickoff. Make sure everybody is nice and prepared. All right, well, it looks like we have no questions, so all I have left to say to you is thank you for your time. It is the most valuable thing that you have. It is the one thing you cannot buy, the one thing you cannot replace. And I am always grateful and humbled anytime you choose to share some of it with me. I hope we all go out there, dominate week 15, get ourselves to week 16, get into that final 4. If you have a bye, congratulations. Enjoy a stress-free week of football. Because the next 2 weeks after that are going to be anything but. So good luck out there to everybody. I know that you're doing the work to prepare. Just keep doing it. Stay on top of all news. Information is the most important thing. Also, make sure you tune into every show here throughout the week, all the way up until kickoff on Sunday to make sure you are as prepared as you can possibly be and that you can put your fate in the best possible position it can be as the fantasy gods decide. And with that, this meeting of the Fantasy Boardroom is freaking adjourned.
Fantasy is the play. Marking nothing but I tune every Friday. Strategies provided